They were already dancing when I got there. I wasn't supposed to arrive that early. Elia thought I'd be late, like always. She even texted me 20 minutes before. No rush, babe. It's just a warm-up night. But something told me not to wait. So I walked into that dim, blue-lit venue and slipped behind the upper balcony bar without her seeing me. It was one of those rooftop clubs, all glass railings and slow house music, like it was trying too hard to be romantic. And there she was, dead center of the floor, swaying in a dress I'd never seen before. Bright red, tight, low back, not something she'd ever worn for me, not since the wedding. And he was behind her, right behind her, holding her hips like he owned them. I couldn't move. I just froze behind that bar, clutching the gift bag I'd brought with the little silver bracelet she'd bookmarked 6 months ago. I had it wrapped and everything. I was going to surprise her after dinner. But apparently, I was already the surprise. She moved like the music was inside her, like he was inside her orbit. And he whispered something in her ear that made her throw her head back in laughter. The same laugh I used to hear when I tickled her under the blankets on Sunday mornings. She hadn't laughed like that with me in over a year. I could have confronted her right then. I could have marched down the steps, interrupted their little midnight movie scene, and demanded answers. But I didn't. I stayed up there, behind the rail, like some forgotten ghost watching his own life unravel from the shadows. And the worst part? She wasn't drunk. She wasn't caught up in a moment. She knew what she was doing. I could tell by the way she looked around first, making sure no one familiar was watching. But she never looked up. She never thought to check the balcony. She had no idea I saw her turn around and kiss him. Not a polite, meaningless peck. A real kiss. Hands in hair. Eyes closed. The kind that rewrites your marriage in 5 seconds. I didn't wait for the second song. I didn't need to. I placed the bracelet bag on the empty bar counter like it was a gravestone and walked back into the elevator. And as the doors closed, I swear to you, I heard them laughing again. I didn't even realize I was crying until I stepped out onto the street and felt the cold wind hit my face. It was that stupid kind of crying, too. Not the loud, dramatic kind you see in movies, but the quiet, tight-throated version where your chest locks up and your hands shake like you've had too much caffeine and not enough dignity. I walked aimlessly, looping around the block twice, ignoring the buzzing of my phone. She'd started calling. I saw her name flash across the screen like it was mocking me. Elia, red heart, still saved with a little heart. Pathetic. I should have kept walking. I should have vanished completely, maybe even boarded the last train out and never looked back. But I didn't. I stood there, just out of sight, behind the row of parked scooters, staring back at the club's glowing rooftop. The red lights pulsed like a heartbeat. My heartbeat. And suddenly, all I could think about was how many other nights I hadn't noticed her slipping away. The song must have ended. Or maybe he walked off to grab drinks, because about 15 minutes later, I saw her step outside onto the balcony, alone. She was scanning the crowd below. Not frantic, not desperate. Just annoyed. Like I was the one who ruined the evening. Then her phone lit up. She pulled it out, stared at it, and her face dropped. She was reading my message. I'd sent it just before I left the rooftop. 4 words. That's all. You looked beautiful tonight. I watched her freeze. For a moment, I thought she might actually collapse. She clutched the phone like it burned her hand. Then she darted back inside. 30 seconds later, she burst out the front entrance, spinning in circles, searching. Her heels clicked against the concrete like little gunshots. Jace, she called out. Once, twice, 3 times. I didn't answer. I let her panic build. It was the first time in years I'd seen her unsure of herself. She kept asking the bouncer if he'd seen me. Kept pacing back and forth in front of the club like someone who just realized she'd left the stove on. But the stove was her marriage. When she finally stopped walking and just stood there, breathing hard with her hands on her knees, I stepped out from behind the scooters. She turned. Her eyes widened. Why didn't you say anything? She whispered, like I had committed the crime. I stared at her for a long moment before answering. I did, I said. But you weren't listening. You were busy dancing. She tried to reach for my hand, but I stepped back. That's when her smile cracked. That confident little smirk she always wore like armor. It split, revealing the fear underneath. I didn't know you were watching, she said softly. And that's exactly why it hurt. Because if she had known, she wouldn't have done it. Not because it was wrong, but because she'd have been more careful. She started crying then. Real tears. Maybe for the first time in our whole marriage. But all I could think was how her tears came after the song ended. After the music stopped. After the guy with the hands on her hips disappeared into the crowd like none of it mattered. Too late. The music stopped for me a long time ago. We didn't go home that night. I told her I needed space, and she nodded like she understood, but I could tell she didn't. Elia always thought a good apology could fix anything. That all it took was a few tears, a dramatic line like, "I didn't mean to hurt you." And boom, we'd hit the reset button. But this time, I didn't want to reset. I wanted the truth. I slept in the cheapest hotel I could find. One of those roadside places where the vending machine eats your dollar and the air conditioner hums like it's been alive longer than your marriage. I lay there, fully clothed, staring at the cracked ceiling, my phone buzzing every 10 minutes with some new variation of "Can we talk?" or "You have to believe me." And I might have believed her, if not for what happened the next morning. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't trying to play detective. I just wanted to see if I'd gone insane. So I scrolled through her social media. Harmless, right? Except, when I opened her Instagram stories from the night before, there was nothing. Nothing from the club, no dancing, no group shots, no selfies. But there was a tag story from someone named Nessa_Rainbow83. I had never heard that name in my life. So I tapped it. And there she was. Elia, my wife, on the dance floor, arms around him, hair thrown back, laughing like she hadn't in years. But that wasn't the part that gutted me. It was the caption. She said he was just her Uber driver, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy. The video was shaky, like the girl had been trying to record on the sly. But it was clear enough to hear Elias say, "Shoot, don't tag me," and then shove the guy's chest playfully before kissing him again, harder than before. My ears rang. My fingers went numb. I stared at the screen like it was written in another language. Uber driver? She'd told someone he was her Uber driver? And they'd laughed? I don't know how long I sat there, watching it on repeat. Long enough for the video to expire. When I tried to screenshot it, it disappeared. Too late. It was gone. But not from my mind. That moment was burned into my skull. Her voice. Her hands. That awful, carefree laugh she hadn't given me in so long. The intimacy wasn't just physical, it was practiced. Familiar. This wasn't a one-time moment of weakness. This was something else. I threw on my clothes, grabbed my keys, and started driving. No idea where I was going. I just needed air. But 10 minutes into the drive, I realized something. Nessa_Rainbow83. She might not have deleted everything. I pulled into a gas station, connected to the awful Wi-Fi, and searched the username. And what I found next made my stomach twist into knots. Nessa's page was public. She'd posted a photo. From earlier that night. The pre-party. It was taken in someone's condo. 5 women in tight dresses. 2 guys standing in the background, drinks in hand. One of them was him. The same guy from the club, wearing the same shirt. The one with my wife's lipstick smeared faintly on the collar. But worse? The caption. Pre-gaming at Caden's place. Wifey's being bad tonight. Wifey. I zoomed in on Elia's hand. She wasn't wearing her wedding ring. I didn't go home. I couldn't. Every part of that house felt poisoned now. The kitchen where we made pancakes on Sundays? Tainted. The couch where she used to fall asleep on my shoulder? Gone cold. Even the stupid hallway closet smelled like her perfume, a scent I used to love, now twisted into something I wanted to scrub out of my skin. I stayed in my car most of the next day, parked in a grocery store lot, watching people buy paper towels and granola bars like nothing was wrong with the world. Meanwhile, my world had cracked open, and nobody even noticed. Around 5 p.m., she finally texted me something different. No more "I miss you," or "Please come home." This time it was just, "I'll meet you wherever you want. Just tell me where." I could have told her to forget it, but I needed to see her. Not for closure, not for a second chance, but because I wanted to see her eyes when she lied to me. I picked a quiet diner out on the highway, the kind with cracked vinyl booths and a jukebox that hadn't worked since the early 2000s. She was already sitting when I got there, hands clasped in front of her like a teenager waiting for a parent to scold her. She looked small, like she'd been rehearsing her lines all day. I didn't even order coffee, just sat down and stared at her, waiting. The first thing she said was, "It didn't mean anything." Of course it didn't. They never mean anything, right? These kinds of betrayals, they always flowed in that same category. A moment, a mistake, bad judgment. I asked her one question. "How long have you known him?" She flinched. Just a flicker, but I caught it. It was the first time I met him, she replied too quickly. He was just there. You sure about that? I said quietly. Because he was at the pre-party. With you. With your friends. In someone's condo. That's when her eyes shifted. Left, right, down to the table. Then she bit her lip like she was trying to physically hold the truth inside her mouth. You looked comfortable with him, I added, my voice shaking. Like it wasn't the first time he'd touched you. She stayed silent. So I pushed harder. And the lipstick on his collar? You want to tell me that was a spontaneous accident too? Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. Jace, she said finally, her voice barely audible. I didn't know anyone was recording. I leaned forward. That's what you're sorry about? That someone saw? And then it happened. She dropped her head into her hands and whispered. Caden said it was just. I froze. Caden. She didn't even notice her slip at first. But when she looked up and saw my expression, her eyes widened. The blood drained from her face. You said you didn't know his name, I said, heart pounding. You said he was just there. Silence. The kind that rots your insides. I leaned back in the booth, suddenly exhausted. How long, Elia? She didn't answer. But she didn't have to. Because when someone panics at the name of the person they barely know, it tells you everything you need. I got up, left a 20 on the table, and walked out. She didn't chase me this time. Maybe because she knew it was different now. I wasn't hurt anymore. I was done. I wasn't planning to talk to anyone about it. I thought maybe if I kept it buried, I could contain the damage to just me. But grief doesn't work like that. It leaks out in strange places. In how you stop answering calls, or how your coworkers say you look tired when what they really mean is broken. I hadn't told a single soul. Not my brother, not my mom, not even my boss. But the person who ended up blowing it all wide open was her best friend, Mira. Now, I never really liked Mira. She was one of those aggressively supportive types, always gassing Elia up no matter what. She was the you go girl, live your truth type. And sure, that's fine when it's about a career change or trying a new haircut. But when it's about secretly seeing another man behind your husband's back, not so charming. She called me out of nowhere 2 days after the diner. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity got the better of me. Hey, Jace, she said cautiously. Elia told me you guys are going through something? Something, I repeated, my voice flat. I just wanted to check in, she continued. She's not herself. She's been crying a lot. Maybe she should have thought of that before she threw away our marriage over a guy named Caden, I said. Silence. Long, telling silence. I swear I could hear her breath catch. Wait, she finally said. You know his name? That was all I needed to hear. You weren't supposed to say that, I said quietly. No, I thought, she said. Mira started rambling, trying to patch the hole she just tore open, but it was too late. The thread had already unraveled. I cut her off. How long has this been going on? And don't lie, Mira. You're not good at it. Another pause. Then, she said it ended months ago. That she just saw him again by accident. That night wasn't supposed to happen. Except it did. She said she was going to tell you. I laughed, bitter, hollow. Yeah? Before or after the third kiss? Mira fell silent again. But this time, it sounded like guilt. She loved you, she whispered. Loved, I echoed. Past tense. Before she could say anything else, I asked the question that had been drilling through my skull since the night I left that club. Did you know? Did you know about them when you invited her out that night? More silence. Then, I thought it was over. It was a confession disguised as a defense. And it hit harder than anything Elia had said herself. So her best friend knew. Her best friend knew. This wasn't just infidelity. This was conspiracy. I hadn't just been left out. I'd been played. Surrounded by people who smiled at me while hiding a knife behind their backs. I hung up without saying goodbye. Later that night, I sat at the kitchen table with a single piece of paper in front of me, the deed to our house. And for the first time since all of this started, I didn't cry. I just stared at the signature line and thought, she doesn't live here anymore. Not really. Not in this house. Not in my heart. She was already gone. The thing about Elia was that she always thought she had time. Time to fix things. Time to talk her way out of disasters. Time to break something and expect me to be there, glue in hand, ready to put the pieces back together for her. But this time, I didn't leave anything for her to glue. 3 days after the phone call with Mira, I went back to the house. Quietly. No announcement, no warning. I knew she was at work. I checked her calendar before things went nuclear. and she still hadn't bothered to change her login credentials. That's how predictable she was. Or maybe how confident she was that I'd come crawling back. I walked through the front door with a box and a key. My key. And it still worked. That mattered to me, for some reason. Like it proved I wasn't the one who walked away first, even though I had every reason to. I didn't take much. Just the essentials. My clothes, my laptop, a couple books, the blanket my grandma made me before she passed. I left the joint bank folder open on the kitchen counter. Empty. Every cent I'd contributed, I moved to a new account in my name. Nothing illegal. Nothing dramatic. Just a clean separation. But the one thing I did that she didn't expect? I took the photos. All of them. The wedding album. The framed picture on the mantle from our trip to Montana. Even the dumb little Polaroid from the Halloween party where we dressed as peanut butter and jelly. All gone. I wasn't erasing her. I was reclaiming me. I left a single note, folded neatly and tucked under her favorite coffee mug. It said, "Don't call me when you miss me. Call yourself and ask why you let me go." By the time she came home, I was already 3 cities away, staying at my brother's place, sleeping in his guest room with my phone on silent and my heart oddly quiet. That night, my phone buzzed 32 times. Messages, calls, missed FaceTimes. Her tone changed with every hour. First it was, "Please come back. I made a mistake." Then it was, "You're being cruel. I was vulnerable. You knew that." Then finally, "You took everything, even the memories." She was right. I did. Because the memories were ours, and she'd shared them with someone else. She'd handed over pieces of our story to Caden like they were hers alone to give. So I took back what I could, what hadn't already been tarnished by lipstick stains and fake smiles. She didn't respond after that, at least not for a while. But the silence didn't scare me anymore. It felt earned, peaceful, and for the first time in years, I slept without checking if she was still lying beside me. Because I didn't need her next to me anymore. I just needed to remember who I was before she danced me out of the picture. It was a Wednesday, completely unremarkable, gray, boring, until the knock came. I was halfway through microwaving leftover chili at my brother's place, still wearing the same hoodie I'd slept in. I wasn't expecting anyone. Definitely not her. But there she was, on the porch, soaked from the rain, hair a mess, makeup streaked, holding something against her chest like it was her lifeline. I froze. For a second, I honestly thought it was a hallucination, like the universe was playing some cruel joke. But then she said my name. Quiet, breathless, like she was scared it might echo wrong. "Jace." I didn't say anything. I didn't move. Just stared at her like she was some creature that used to be familiar but had shed all its skin and now looked like a stranger trying to wear love like a costume. "Please," she whispered, stepping forward. "I just need 10 minutes." I should have slammed the door. I wanted to. But the thing in her hands, that stupid leather-bound notebook she always kept in her dresser, caught my attention. My journal. The one I used to write in when things got hard. The one I hadn't seen since before the club. She held it out like a peace offering. "You left this behind." I took it, cautiously, like it might burn. I hadn't realized how much it meant to me until it was back in my hands. "I read it," she said, eyes downcast. "I know I shouldn't have, but I needed to understand." "What exactly were you trying to understand?" I asked. "How I stopped trusting you. How I started sleeping with my back turned to the wall. How it felt knowing your friends laughed while I sat home planning our future." She looked like I'd slapped her, but I wasn't yelling. My voice was flat, tired, like all the fight had been wrung out of me. She nodded slowly. "I deserve that. I do. Jace, I lost myself. And then I lost you." I didn't say anything. I didn't trust myself to speak. So she kept going. "I wasn't planning on Caden," she continued. "It wasn't some big plot. It started with flirting, then texting. I kept thinking, I'm not doing anything wrong. It's not physical. Until it was. Until it was," I repeated. Her hands trembled. "I thought you'd always be there. I thought I could mess up and you'd wait for me to figure it out." I gave her a long look. I did wait. I waited through the silence, through the excuses, through watching you light up for someone else while I sat in the shadows holding your purse like a prop. She covered her mouth, but I saw the tears coming anyway. I didn't know how far I'd fallen until I saw what it looked like from your side. I pointed to the journal. "You shouldn't have had to read that to know." She nodded. "I know." Then, slowly, she pulled something from her coat pocket. A folded envelope. No name on it. Just sealed. I was going to give this to you the night of the club, she said, voice barely a whisper. I had it in my bag. I chickened out. After what happened, I didn't think I deserved to. I hesitated, then took it, opened it. Inside was a letter. Her handwriting. Long, messy, honest, and something else. A printout of a therapy schedule. Her name listed. Solo sessions. Weekly. She didn't say anything after that. Just stood there, soaked and silent. And for the first time since that awful night, I didn't see the liar, the cheat, the woman who danced like I was invisible. I saw a person who finally realized what she destroyed. And I wasn't sure if I was supposed to hate her for it, or hurt with her. I didn't respond right away. I stood in that doorway with the envelope in one hand and my old journal in the other, while the woman I married, no makeup left, soaked from the rain, guilt written all over her face, waited for a verdict like her whole life depended on it. And maybe, in some ways, it did. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, just humbled, stripped of all the pride and attitude that used to drip from every word she spoke. This wasn't the same woman who danced with Caden like I didn't exist. This wasn't the woman who lied to my face with practiced ease. This was someone else. Someone new. Or maybe someone old, clawing her way back. I'm not asking you to forgive me, she finally said. Not today. Not next week. I just wanted you to know I'm not pretending anymore. I'm doing the work, even if it's too late. I could have shut the door. I could have walked away. But something about the way she said it, the honesty in her voice, the way her eyes didn't dodge mine like they used to, made me pause. I looked down at the letter again. It was messy, raw. She'd admitted everything. The way she'd spiraled, the attention she craved, the guilt that chased her every night since. But she never begged. She never tried to twist it. She owned it. And for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, I breathed without anger tightening my chest. I don't hate you, I said quietly. She blinked hard. You don't. I wanted to, I admitted. I really, really wanted to. But I think I was more hurt than anything. And you can only stay hurt for so long before it either hardens you or pushes you to grow. She didn't say anything, but her bottom lip started to shake. I'm not saying we're okay, I continued. I don't know if we ever will be. But I also don't want to live in bitterness. That's not who I am. That's not who we were. She stepped forward slightly. What does that mean? I exhaled. It means we start over. Not as husband and wife. Not yet. Just two people who used to know each other. Maybe we meet for coffee. Maybe we talk. Maybe we see who we are now, without the lies. Without the dancing in the dark. She nodded slowly, like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. But if we do this, I added, we do it my way this time. No secrets. No friends covering for you. No pretending things didn't happen. She wiped her face. I can do that. I want to do that. I stepped aside. Come in. You're dripping. She hesitated, then smiled. A real one. Not the kind she gave everyone else. The kind I hadn't seen since before things started unraveling. We didn't kiss. We didn't hug. But she walked in like someone who finally understood the weight of what she almost lost. And as I closed the door behind her, for the first time in a long time, it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like the start of something real. Maybe not what we had, but maybe something better.